I never thought I'd fire a bullet into my own reflection, but that's exactly what I did the day I signed away my soul for Harlan Graves. It wasn't the embezzlement that broke me. It was watching him pin it on me like a cheap lapel pin while he toasted champagne with his daddy's cronies. And now, as the rain lashes against the penthouse windows of this godforsaken Manhattan tower, I'm about to drag his entire empire down with me, one leaked file at a time. Because forgiveness isn't in my bloodline, revenge is. They say in New York, you don't climb the ladder, you claw your way up, fingernails bleeding, leaving smears on every rung. I learned that the hard way at Graves and Associates, a cutthroat investment firm where fortunes were made and broken faster than a bad Tinder date. I was Savannah Reed, the golden girl from the wrong side of the tracks in Queens, who'd hustle her ass off through Columbia on scholarships and grit. By 28, I was a senior analyst, the one they called the closer because I could sweet-talk a hedge fund into folding like a house of cards. Harlan Graves? He was the boss's son. A trust fund prince with a jawline sharper than his daddy's quarterly reports and eyes that promised the world while delivering squat. It started innocently enough, or as innocent as things get in a place where loyalty's just another line item on the balance sheet. Harlan waltzed into my office one humid August afternoon, 3 years back, with that boyish grin that made interns blush and executives uneasy. Savannah, he drawled, Southern charm dripping like bourbon. Daddy's got me shadowing the big dogs. Mind if I pick your brain on that Envirotech merger? I should have seen the hook then. His father, Victor Graves, the iron-fisted CEO who'd built the firm from a Wall Street broom closet into a billion-dollar beast. But I was flattered. Hell, I was starving for someone to notice the late nights I pulled while the Ivy Leaguers golfed at Peconic. We became something. Late-night strategy sessions turned into after-hours drinks at the Dead Rabbit, where he'd whisper about taking over the firm someday, his hand brushing mine like it was accidental. You're the real brains here. Save, he'd say, voice low and gravelly, the kind that echoed in your dreams. We make a hell of a team. I bought it. God, did I buy it? When the merger hit a snag, some shady offshore account surfacing like turds in a punch bowl, Harlan came to me panicked. It's nothing, he swore, sweat beading on his perfect forehead. Just a little creative accounting to juice the numbers. Daddy knows. But he wants it quiet. The crime? Embezzling client funds to cover a bad bet on crypto derivatives.
Milio.
The kind of mistake that lands you in federal orange, not a corner office. I covered for him.
Me.
The kid who'd grown up watching my single mom scrape by on diner tips, preaching that honesty was the only currency that didn't depreciate. I doctored the ledgers, rerouted the trails through dummy shells I'd set up myself. It was supposed to be temporary, a few months until Victor could bury it in some Cayman Island grave. But Harlan? He flipped faster than a politician at a fundraiser. The feds came knocking 6 months later, tipped off by an anonymous whistleblower, me. They thought. Victor called me into his office that Friday, the one with the Picasso knockoff and the view that made you feel like a king. Harlan was there, too, looking like he'd just stepped out of a Brooks Brothers ad, not a man who'd begged me on his knees the night before. Savannah, Victor boomed, his voice like thunder over the Hudson. We've got a problem. The evidence was laid out on his desk. Printouts. Timestamps. My digital fingerprints all over it. Harlan wouldn't meet my eyes, his loafers scuffing the Persian rug. I stammered, rage bubbling like acid. This is bullshit. Harlan. But Victor cut me off, his face hardening into that boardroom mask. Son, tell her. And Harlan did.
Oh.
He told me everything. Voice steady as a surgeon's scalpel. How he'd always planned to take the fall for no one. How he'd fed me just enough rope to hang myself. All while recording our pillow talk confessions. You were always too ambitious. Save, he said, finally looking up. Eyes cold as a winter gale off the East River. This firm's for blood, not strays. They fired me on the spot. No severance. No references, just a non-disclosure agreement shoved under my nose. Promising ruin if I breathed a word. The scandal hit the post the next week. Graves air dodges bullet in massive fraud probe. Analyst takes heat. I became the villain. The ambitious bitch who'd clawed her way into steal from widows and orphans. My name was mud in every finance watering hole from Tribeca to the Hamptons. Mom called from her assisted living in Florida. Voice cracking over the line. Baby, what happened? You were supposed to be the one who made it. I lied. Told her it was burnout. But inside, something snapped, like a levee in Katrina, flooding everything good I'd built. For months, I ghosted through life in a one-bedroom in Astoria, drowning in cheap Merlot and job rejections. The betrayal wasn't just professional, it was personal, visceral. Harlan had known about my past, the assault in college I'd buried deep. The one that left me distrusting silver spoon smiles. He'd used it, twisted it into leverage during our confessions. Your damaged goods? Save, he'd murmured once. Post-coital cruelty masked as intimacy. But I see potential. Potential to be his scapegoat. That's when the darkness settled in. You am an insistent, whispering from the shadows of my laptop screen. Revenge. Not the cartoon kind with Molotovs and monologues, no. This would be surgical, American as apple pie and arsenic, slow, systematic, and sweet as settling a score in traffic court. I started digging. Not with a shovel, but with code, Python scripts scraping public records. Dark web forums where ex-Graves employees vented spleen. Turns out, Harlan wasn't the golden boy Victor painted. The kid had a trail of bodies, a college roommate ruined by a planted plagiarism scandal, a sorority girl paid off after an accident that wasn't. And embezzlement? It wasn't a one-off. Victor knew, hell, he'd orchestrated half of them, covering for his only son like a mafia don with a soft spot. But the real secret, the one that made my blood run cold? My mother. Yeah, that diner waitress from Queens. She'd been Victor's first flame, back in the 80s when he was a junior broker slinging stocks from a payphone. She'd gotten pregnant me, but he'd paid her off to vanish, forging papers to make it look like she'd bailed for Vegas. I'd grown up thinking my dad was some nameless trucker. Turns out, he was the king of Wall Street, and I was his dirty little heirloom. The revelation hit me like a subway mugging. I confronted Mom over FaceTime, her face crumpling in that tiny Boca Raton apartment. He said it'd ruin us both.
Savvy.
I did it for you. For me. The crime I'd borne, the betrayal I'd swallowed, it all traced back to that lie. Victor had replaced me before I was even born, shoving me into obscurity so Harlan, his legitimate legacy,
could shine.
Fury doesn't cover it. It was a black hole, sucking in light and spitting out stars of spite. I needed a plan. Infiltrating Graves and Associates again was suicide. Too many eyes. Too many NDAs. So I went lateral. A ghost job at a rival firm. Sterling Capital. Under a pseudonym. Eva Thorne. I called myself. A nod to the thorns I'd wrap around their necks. Sterling was smaller. Scrappier. run by a chain-smoking ex-Marine named Ruiz who hated Victor's guts after a hostile takeover gone sour. I fed him crumbs, anonymous tips on Graves' vulnerabilities, and in return, he gave me access to the underbelly. That's where I met Lena, Harlan's ex-assistant, a sharp-tongued Latina from the Bronx who'd quit after he groped her at the holiday gala. That boy's poison, she hissed over empanadas in a Jackson Heights dive. But his daddy? He's the serpent. Lena became my mole. She leaked internal memos, board minutes, even Harlan's browser history, kiddie porn searches buried under VPNs. The kind that'd make Epstein blush. But Victor was slippery, a chameleon in pinstripes. He'd flip alliances like pancakes, cozying up to regulators one day, stonewalling them the next. And Harlan? He sensed the noose, started paranoia purging staff, including Lena. She vanished one night. Car accident,
they said.
Official report, drunk driving. I knew better. That's when the tension ratcheted up. Dark and claustrophobic, like waiting for the verdict in a rigged trial. I escalated. Planted a digital breadcrumb trail, leading feds back to Harlan's door, disguised as a whistleblower from within. The heat turned up, raids, subpoenas. Victor's face on CNBC, looking like he'd swallowed a lemon. But they circled wagons. Harlan playing the victim card to the hilt. Family under siege by a disgruntled ex.
Me.
Always me. The controversy brewed online, justice for Graves trending, while Savannah Scam trended harder, painting me as the vengeful harpy. Pundits on Fox called it woke sabotage. CNN spun it as corporate Me Too gone mad. I didn't care. Let them divide. Division was my weapon. By winter, I was in deep, hacking their servers from a VPN in a Brooklyn coffee shop. Rain pattering like guilty fingers on the window. One file changed everything. A paternity test, buried in Victor's personal drive.
Confirmed.
I was his. And Harlan? The kid knew. Had known since law school. That's why he'd targeted me, to bury the bastard child before she could claim the throne. The hook was set.
Time to reel them in.
Spring in New York is a tease, budding cherry blossoms mocking the rot beneath the sidewalks. By April, my revenge had metastasized into something uglier, more American, a full-blown media circus laced with anonymous leaks that smelled like whistleblower gold. I'd gone full scorched earth, feeding tidbits to every outlet from Bloomberg to Breitbart, watching the narrative splinter like safety glass. One day, Harlan was the persecuted heir, the next, a predator with a rap sheet longer than his daddy's SEC filings. The tension was palpable, a low hum under my skin, like the subway rumble that never quite stops. Every shadow in my rear view felt like a Graves' tale, every wrong number a veiled threat. But I thrived on it, that dark thrill of the hunted turning hunter. Lena's accident had been the catalyst. I'd traced the brakes, tampered. Sloppy work by some low-rent fixer Victor kept on peril. It pushed me over the edge. No more games. I reached out to Ruiz at Sterling, laying my cards on the table over a burner phone from a pay booth in Midtown. I need an in, I said, voice steady despite the bile rising.
The annual gala.
Full access. He laughed. That gravelly bark like tires on gravel. You're either crazy or suicidal.
Thorn.
Victor's got that place locked tighter than Fort Knox. But Ruiz owed me. Those tips had netted Sterling a juicy short on Graves stock, and crazy was his love language. He pulled strings. Got me a +1 invite as his consultant. The gala was at the Plaza, All crystal chandeliers and caviar dreams. The kind of excess that makes you forget the world outside is crumbling. I slipped in wearing a slinky black number that hugged like a second skin. Hair pinned up to show the scar from that college night, my war paint. Harlan was there. Of course. Holding court by the bar in a tux that screamed old money. Arm candy on one side. Victor's shadow on the other. His eyes found mine across the room, widening like a deer in halogens. Recognition hit him like a sucker punch. I saw the flip, charm to calculation in a heartbeat. He excused himself, weaving through the crowd like a shark scenting blood. "Savannah," he hissed when he cornered me by the coat check, breath hot with scotch. "What the fuck are you doing here?" I smiled, slow and venomous. The kind that says I've got your balls in a vice. "Just catching up." "Harlan." "Heard about Lena." Tragic. His face paled. That perfect jaw clenching. "You think you can touch me? Daddy's got friends in places you can't imagine."
Oh.
I could imagine senators in pockets, judges on speed dial. But that's where he underestimated me. The secret I'd unearthed wasn't just blood, it was leverage. "Tell Victor hi for me," I purred, slipping a USB drive into his pocket like a love note.
It's got everything. Paternity.
Embezzlement. Your little browser habits. Play nice. Or it goes viral. He snatched my wrist. Grip bruising. Eyes darting like a cornered rat. "You're bluffing." But I wasn't. The drive held copies, watermarked, time-stamped, ready to flood every inbox from the DOJ to TMZ. He released me, rubbing his thumb over the spot like it burned. "This isn't over. You bitch." Controversy incarnate. The golden boy threatening the underdog. Right there in the marble halls of privilege. A nearby socialite gasped, phones coming out like guns at high noon. By morning, Plaza Threat was exploding, splitting the chattering classes, feminists rallying for me, conservatives decrying corporate witch hunts. Victor summoned me, the next day, not to his office but a neutral spot, a private booth at Delmonico's, where steaks sizzle like deals in the fire. He looked older up close, jowls sagging under the weight of decades of deals, eyes like chipped flint. "Sit," he commanded. No preamble. I did, spine straight as rebar. Harlan hovered in the corner, sullen as a grounded teen. "You've caused quite the stir. MS. Read." His voice was measured, that patrician drawl masking the storm. But family sticks together. Always has.
Family.
The word landed like a gut punch. I leaned in, voice low. "Funny. Because you buried yours."
Me. Mom.
That payoff in '97? I found the checks. Victor's fork paused midair. Steak juice dripping like blood from a fresh wound. Harlan shifted. Uneasy. "Irrelevant," Victor snapped. But his eyes betrayed him, flickering with a flip, calculating escape routes. "You were a mistake. Harlan's the future."
Ah.
There it was, the deep betrayal, layered like an onion of deceit. I'd borne his crime since birth, scapegoated twice over. "Mistake," I echoed, laughing bitter as black coffee. "You mean the daughter you replaced with your puppet son?" The argument escalated, voices rising like bids in an auction gone feral. Victor offered a buyout, $5 million to vanish. NDA ironclad. I countered with truth. Leak the DNA. Watch the stock crater. Harlan jumped in, flipping again, defending his father one breath. accusing me of extortion the next. She's unhinged.
Dad.
That assault messed her up, crazy bitch. The room spun, red haze descending. I slapped him, crack echoing like a gavel, drawing stares from the linen napkin elite. Security hovered, but Victor waved them off, face thunderous. Enough. Meet me tomorrow. My office.
We'll
Discuss succession. Succession. The word hung like smoke after a gunshot. I'd cracked the facade, but at what cost? That night, in my Astoria walk-up, doubt crept in, dark tendrils wrapping around the thrill. Was I avenging? Or just becoming them? Mom called. Voice frail. Come home, baby. This city's eating you alive. I hung up, staring at the USB backups on my drive. No turning back. The tension coiled tighter. As a funeral parlor. Every decision a razor wire. The boardroom showdown was set for dawn. Victor's idea. To keep it off the radar. I arrived early. Rain sluicing down the tower's glass like tears on a widow's cheek. The room was a tomb, long tables scarred from battles past, city lights blurring into accusation. Victor entered alone, Harlan trailing like a remora. No lawyers, no lackeys, just us. The twisted trinity. Sit, Victor repeated, echoing our lunch. I did, heart hammering like a junkie's vein. He slid a folder across yellowed pages. My birth certificate. Mom's tear-stained affidavit. You're mine, he admitted, voice cracking for the first time. But the world's not kind to bastards. Savannah. I protected you.
Protected?
By erasing me? Rage surged, hot and unfiltered. You replaced me. Let Harlan pin his sins on me. That's protection. Harlan sneered, flipping to offense. You were easy. Desperate for daddy issues. Victor silenced him with a glare, then turned, eyes softening or scheming. Join us. Cosio. We rewrite the narrative. The offer dangled. Poisoned apple shiny.
Power.
Vindication. But at the cost of silence? The room thickened, air heavy with unspoken crimes. I countered, full transparency. Feds get the files unless you confess, on record. Victor's face twisted, the chameleon shedding skin. Blackmail. Then, Harlan lunged, but Victor held him back, deciding in that controversial heartbeat. Give her the chair. For now.
For now.
The ambiguity hung, divisive as a Supreme Court split. Was it mercy? Or a longer leash? I took it, signing amid flashes of doubt. The press ate it up. Reed rises. Ousted analyst claims Graves thrown in shocking twist. Sides formed. Wall Street hailed the meritocracy myth. Activists cried sellout.
Me?
I felt the noose loosen. But the rope was still there.
Chafing.
But Harlan's eyes, as we shook on it, pure venom. He wasn't done flipping. Summer hit Manhattan like a fever dream, humid nights where the skyline shimmered with malice. Secrets festering under the tourist gloss. I'd claimed the corner office, rechristened it with my touch, a fern from Mom's garden. A framed Columbia diploma mocking the ghosts. Co-CEO on paper. But Victor ran interference. His decisions laced with that cunning flip, approving my reforms one board meeting, gutting them the next behind closed doors. Tradition. Savannah, he'd murmur. Paternal pat on the back feeling like a shank. Harlan? Demoted to special projects. He slunk the halls like a deposed prince. alliances shifting with every coffee break. One day he'd nod in the elevator, feigning respect. The next, he'd leak memos painting me as the tyrant, read regime trending in finance Twitter's underbelly. The tension was a live wire now, sparking at every touchpoint. Employees whispered, loyal to the old guard or eyeing my merit badges. I pushed audits, clawing back embezzled funds for clients. Controversial moves that saved the firm but exposed skeletons. A widow from Ohio sued. Her life savings vaporized by Harlan's crypto folly. I settled personally. Check in hand at her kitchen table. Her hug breaking something in me. You're one of the good ones, she said. Good? The word tasted like ash. My revenge was birthing a monster, me. Complicit in the machine I'd sworn to dismantle. Mom flew up for my coronation lunch. Her first glimpse of the tower. She aged a decade in the elevator ride, clutching her purse like a shield. This place. It's him. Isn't it? We sat in my office. Skyline sprawling like a conqueror's map. I confessed it all, the DNA, the deal, the dangling sword. Her eyes welled, hand trembling on mine. You don't have to be him.
Savvy.
Walk away. But walking was defeat. And defeat was death in this jungle. I'm ending it, I promised. For us. Harlan struck first. A board leak, fabricated emails making it look like I greenlit insider trades. My signature forged slick as sin. The SEC swarmed by noon. Victor playing neutral. We'll investigate internally. Internally meant cover-up. His flip to protector mode for the firm, not the daughter. I confronted him in his office. Storm raging outside like my pulse. You knew. This is your son's doing. Victor steepled fingers. Eyes unreadable. Proof. I slammed the forensics report. Digital trails leading to Harlan's IP.
He sighed.
Heavy as a verdict. Family. Savannah. Blood.
Blood.
The word ignited the fuse. That night, I activated the kill switch, a dead man's trigger on the cloud server. Set to flood media with everything, paternity docs, embezzlement ledgers, Harlan's darkest tabs. But twisted it with mercy, an olive branch to Victor. Meet me at dawn. The boathouse in Central Park.
Come alone.
No Harlan. The message pinged his secure line. Anonymous but unmistakable. Dawn broke gray and sodden. Mist curling off the lake like cigarette smoke. I waited in the gloom. Trench coat heavy with rain. A recorder in my pocket like a confessor's ear. Victor arrived on foot. No entourage, vulnerable. Almost human in a barber jacket. Hair slicked by drizzle. This ends now, I said, voice cutting the fog. He nodded, face etched with regret or ruse. I was wrong. About your mother. About you. The admission hung, raw and real. For a heartbeat, I saw the flip, not to deceit, but defeat. Sign it, I demanded, sliding the confession, full ownership of the crimes. My legitimation. Harlan's ouster. He took the pen, hesitated. Then, you're more Graves than he ever was. The words landed soft. A balm on old wounds. I exhaled, the tension uncoiling like a spring released. Maybe this was the happy ending, not destruction, but reclamation. We shook.
Tentative.
The recorder capturing it all as insurance. But Harlan. God. Harlan. He burst from the trilene like a bad sequel. Flanked by two goons, Ex-cops on Graves' payroll. Faces like chewed leather. You think I'd let you steal it? He snarled, rain masking the tremor in his voice. Victor whirled, shock fracturing his mask. Son. No. But Harlan flipped final, gun in hand, pulled from God knows where, illegal as his soul. She's the mistake. Always was. The scene froze. Cinematic in its controversy, father between daughter and son, rain blurring lines of right and wrong. I didn't run, I stood, heart thundering, whispering my trigger code under breath. The files would drop in 60 seconds if I didn't cancel. Harlan, put it down, Victor pleaded, voice breaking, first time I'd heard frailty in him. The boy laughed. Manic. Gun wavering. You chose her. Over me. The flip complete. Victim to villain. Son to saboteur. He squeezed, not at me, but Victor. The shot cracking like thunder. Body crumpling into the shallows. Blood bloomed dark. No gore, but implication heavy as lead. Harlan froze. Horror dawning.
Dad.
I lunged, tackling him into the mud, goons scattering like roaches at dawn. The recorder caught it, patricide, raw and irrevocable. Sirens wailed distant as NYPD swarmed, anonymous tip. My doing. Harlan thrashed, screaming betrayal. But the evidence piled, gun with his prints. Files dumping live to every news desk. Graves' downfall trended apocalyptic. Debates raging. Was I avenger or architect? Victor clung to life in the ambulance, hand in mine, whispering, finish it. For the firm. He flatlined en route, leaving me the empire and the void. The twist, in his will, read amid the feeding frenzy. Victor named me sole heir, but with a caveat. Harlan's shares vested to me only if I forgave him, dropped charges, brought him back into the fold. Mercy or manipulation. The board split. Media mauled it. Rehabilitate the killer's son. Or let him rot for the father's sins. I stood at the funeral. Black umbrellas like mourners' spears. Harlan cuffed in the back. Eyes pleading across the grave. Forgive? The betrayed girl from Queens screamed no. The chairwoman whispered maybe. I chose controversy. Partial pardon. Community service. Therapy. A quiet VP role under my watch. Not happy. Not tragedy, just American ambiguity, where revenge tastes like compromise, and power's a crown of thorns. Mom moved in. The fern bloomed. But at night, rain on the windows. I wonder, did I win? Or just replace one ghost with another? The city doesn't sleep. Neither do I.